What's up, nerds? My name is Cory Bergeron, and you are watching Cory Bergeron Recordings. Throughout my years of recording records, I've never had one mentor that's kind of taken me underneath their wing, and I've learned everything from that person. You often hear stories about an engineer getting a job at a recording studio, and at first their responsibilities are keeping the facilities clean, and maybe doing some small tasks that if they mess up, it's not the end of the world. And then eventually they gain more experience and they're able to learn under the wing of an experienced head engineer of the studio, and they eventually get their shot and they, make the most of the opportunity, and boom, that's how they start their career being a producer, being an audio engineer. In today's age, I think what's more likely is that you have an engineer that goes to school, maybe they don't go to school, and they follow several different producers, engineers, creators, artists online, and they're able to gain valuable knowledge and information from them. And instead of having kind of like one mentor, you actually have a handful of mentors, or an infinite number of mentors almost. I know for me, I've been following tons of different producers. I know for me, I've been following tons of different producers, artists, and creators for, since I discovered YouTube. And they've taught me a ton of invaluable information. Now, everyone that has started their journey along the path of audio production has encountered their own unique set of obstacles. And upon reflection, I thought it would be interesting to some if I created a video documenting 5 things that I wish I could go back in time and tell myself when I started my journey in the audio production world. These are in no particular order, so number 1, work with people that are better than you, and do not be intimidated by them. When I started recording bands, I was obsessed with being the absolute best that I could be in every single way possible. Little did I know, working with people that are straight up better than you, have more experience than you, and have more experience doing specific things that you don't, is the fastest way to learn and grow. I know when I started, I felt intimidated and almost jealous of anyone who I deemed was better than me, which in hindsight is a very immature way of looking at things, but that's what you do when you're young. If you're the most talented person in the room, if you have the most experience in the room, or you're the smartest person in the room, that means that you have little to gain from everyone else. So again, to recap and put it simply, work with people that are better than you, that have more experience than you, and do your best to soak in as much experience and knowledge of theirs as you can. Number 2, don't believe everything you read on the net, and also understand where your info is coming from. Audio forums are commonly an unfiltered wasteland of information. Maybe 10% of it is valuable, solid information, and the other 90% of it is negativity and bickering. It is important to know where the information is coming from. Even though it may be valuable information to some, it may not be as much value to you. I can explain this best with an example. So let's create an extreme example. Let's say that I'm focused on making a metal recording. All right, so I'm a young engineer, I'm just learning, and I'm working with MIDI drums, I'm doing DI bass and amp sims and all that stuff, and then I get to recording vocals, and I record vocals, and the vocals that I'm recording don't sound like the vocals I hear on the records that I'm trying to, emulate. So I'm gonna go on the internet and I'm gonna type something like how to process vocal, or something in that realm. After doing your search, you find a post, and this guy is explaining that you should never compress a vocal more than 6 dB, or else it will be over compressed. And if you're young, the last thing you want to do is over compress something, right? The world will end. Now, he may not be incorrect, he may be correct in doing so on his own production, but it's just not applicable to what you are doing. All right, so know where your information is coming from, because that person might work on jazz records or something that's less mangled in post as compared to like doing a metal record. So understand where your information is coming from, and don't believe everything you read on the net. A rule that I like to follow is only take advice from people that are in a position where you want to be. So if I'm new to the game and I'm working on a metal record, you're probably best to get your advice from a metal producer or a metal mixer. Number 3, commit, commit, commit. Improve your decision-making skills. When I started working on music, I would spend so much time going back and forth on the same parameter, not really knowing if I was making anything better or worse, or if I was just wasting time and not doing anything important. I feel like everybody goes through this stage. Once I started to commit, my decision-making skills improved drastically, and so did the speed of my workflow. Get this, let's say you commit the compression on a vocal, okay? So you track a vocal, you start mixing it, and you go, I think this is an appropriate amount of compression, I'm gonna commit this. So you're baking your plugin into your waveform, boom, there's no way of going back. Later in the mixing process, you realize, maybe I've compressed that vocal too much, the breaths sound a little annoying. They're kind of gaspy in between every single phrase, and maybe I should have compressed the vocal a little less, or maybe I should have taken a different approach. The next time you go to compress a vocal, you're gonna have this awareness that you didn't have before, and you're gonna be conscious to avoid making the same mistake that you've made in the past, and this is what we call gaining experience. Apply this step to every element of the mix and repeat it a bunch, and you will only gain valuable experience. You'll be able to make sharp decisions and move super quickly through your mixing process. So number 3, commit, 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 commit. It will only make you better. Trust me, there is no worse feeling than committing on something and then realizing that you've totally painted yourself into a corner. You will never forget that lesson, and you will be conscious of it going forward. Number 4, there is no substitute for experience. This one is pretty straightforward. There's no substitute for experience. You can read everything you want on the internet for the rest of forever, but if you are not recording, if you are not putting what you're reading into action, you aren't actually gaining any experience or training your ears. You will learn so much more by recording various musicians, mixing as many songs as you can, and simply putting yourself in a position to gain experience. The reality is there are no secrets, there are no shortcuts. You have to take the time, you have to invest the time to train your ears, to understand what it is that you need to be listening for, and to develop your own artistic sound. So just to reiterate that point, after you've completed watching every single one of my videos all the way through, then go take some action and start applying everything you've learned. Number 5. This one I am terrible at. The importance of balance and breaks and taking time away from audio. Now this may sound counterintuitive to some, but let me assure you that taking a healthy amount of time away from audio will only benefit your mental health, your relationships, and honestly, I think it will improve your audio skills. Have you ever been in the shower and suddenly you get a great idea? Or you wake up in the middle of the night and you have an answer to a problem that you were trying to solve? Your brain works best if you take time away to decompress. As it stands, there is no decompressor plugin. I know for me, because I do a lot of work from home, it is important to schedule working time and not working time. And to be very strict with it, because if I ever blur those lines, every hour becomes like half working time, and then it feels like I've worked from waking up to going to bed. And if you do that for a couple days, there is no quicker way to go insane and to burn out. So take it from me, give yourself a break. It's okay, don't feel bad about it. I know as an engineer, as a producer, as a mixer, you are told that it's a very, very, very competitive field and that everyone out there is trying to outwork you and trying to get your work. And yes, that is true. But they're also taking breaks, so it's okay to take one here and there. All right, yeah, that's the end of my video. I just put my phone down that has my cheat notes on it, so let me do a recap. Number 1 was, let's see if I can remember this. I honestly don't remember. I gotta grab my phone. Work with people better than you. Number 1, work with people better than you. It is the fastest and easiest way to learn and grow and gain experience. Very, very important. Number 2, don't believe everything you read on the net, and more importantly, understand where your information is coming from. Just because somebody does something that works for them doesn't mean it's gonna work for this specific application that you do, so understand their perspective, where they're coming from, and try and find information that is applicable to what you're working on. Number 3, commit, commit, commit. It will only improve your decision making. It's that straightforward. You will never make the same mistake. I mean, you might, but you probably won't make the exact same mistake twice if you go ahead and commit and then paint yourself into a corner and realize, uh-oh, I probably shouldn't do that. Number 4, there is no substitute for experience, patience, patience, patience. Again, something I am horrible at, that's why I'm telling this to my past self. But yeah, there's no substitute for it. If you want to be the best, you have to put the time in, and it's going to take some time, but enjoy the journey. You will get better if you keep doing it day in and day out. And then number 5, which kind of counters what I just said right there, take some time away from audio. Life is about balance. If you want to be the best engineer, if you want to be the best producer, if you want to be the best mixer, that's great. To do so, it is important that you stay sane and do not burn out. So it is okay to take time away from audio. It is okay to take time for yourself. Do your best to schedule, manage your time, and be the most effective you that you can be. Yeah. All right, so this concludes the video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. I would appreciate that. Let me know what you're thinking about in the comments after watching this video. Just seriously, comment anything. I'm desperate. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't, because it's good stuff, dude. I'm telling you, we got some big plans here. The team upstairs is working on some really important stuff that dude, you don't want to miss out on it. It's really good. And lastly, if you are interested in joining a Facebook group of like-minded individuals such as yourself, such as people like me, join the Facebook group. You got to go down to the description, join the Facebook group, and start a conversation. You will learn something. I will learn something. It'll be really good. Make a positive impact in the world, and I will see you in the next video, my friends. Bye.